big on the weekend.
Oh,
I don't know if that's going to pan out, but I figured, okay, I should start getting
mm.
myself like
The
up to date with my
certification and
thing.
all that kind of stuff. Right, of course, of course.
Absolutely.
'Cause
And
every
so I've been doing this course for about a month, and then basically the way it works, so basically that's where a lot of the influence comes from. So a lot of the cuisine that I do tends to be with Jamaican flavors or Caribbean flavors.
is there a reason for that? I mean, does cannabis infuse better with the spices, with the fruits and so on, or is it just your preference?
Yeah, so I can't really say if it infuses
Well,
better,
actually,
but what I will,
that's probably not the best question because of course different things are going to affect you differently. What about
yeah,
like
but the
the
flavor
flavor?
palette,
That's what I'm thinking. The flavors.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
what I'm thinking. Yeah.
The flavor palette is awesome. I would find that cannabis works really, really well with Caribbean flavors because of a lot of the spices that we use. And I find that they're also in a lot of the terpenes that are found in
Right.
cannabis strains or cultivars, right? So for instance, like myrcene is a terpene that's found in a lot of different cannabis strains. And that is also something that I cook with a lot. It's found in a lot of Caribbean cooking. Like I make, mango chutneys
Right.
and salsas and things like that. So I find that it works really well. And then some of our other spices that we use, like our allspice, nutmeg, black pepper, etc., like caryophyllene is also a terpene found in black pepper. You know what I mean? So I just feel like it works really well with the spices that we use in Jamaican or Caribbean cooking.
Oh, excellent, excellent. And how well, I mean, I know that as the industry is developing, we have these beautiful devices coming out that can decarboxylate the cannabis. Well, actually, well, tell us a little bit about that. How does can you just take a cannabis flower and throw it into a pot and you're good to go? How how
Yeah.
sorry, can I take a ganja flower and throw it in a pot and cook it?
Yes.
Please tell me how does this work? What please, I'm a complete layman. Explain this whole process to me.
For sure. So for me, the way I like to decarb my ganja is the old school method. And so I basically, I will set my oven to about 220 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't like to go past 240. So I like to stay with, some people like to do 200, some people like to do 215. It doesn't really matter to me. I like to stay with the 220 just because it feels middle of the ground, but I don't recommend going past 240. I just get like pretty much a little tray, add some parchment paper on it, and then I like to break up my ganja. Not like I don't like to grind it too small,
Okay.
but like I like to do it more like, and I'll kind of show it in my hand. I like to do it like to that
A little
kind of,
chunks type of little. Okay.
yeah, kind of like
Okay.
chunks. You put it on top of your parchment paper, you know what I mean? Like depending on how much you're using. In Canada, our because it's a legalized country, anything that is edible is really like the maximum THC level is really low. It's only
Right.
10
Right. Right.
milligrams, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I usually teach people just how to work with 3.5 grams or an eighth, whatever
Right.
you
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
to call
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Work with that. So you put that on your tray, on the parchment paper on your tray, and then you put it in your oven for about 40 minutes.
Right.
And that is essentially the decarboxylation process.
Right. And
The only
decarboxylation
thing,
is what's the
activation.
decarboxylation? Right. The
Yeah,
activation of this.
it's pretty much activating your cannabis because, like, in the very, state that it is in right now, it has THCA. There's
Right. Right
like,
on. Okay.
that's what it is, right? And
Right.
it's
Right.
ready
Right.
state. So when you put it in the oven, you're kind of activating it, getting rid of the A so that it's only THC, which is
Right.
what gives you the effect.
The effects that you want,
Type of
so on
thing,
and so forth.
right? So, and that's kind of like when you think about it, when you smoke a joint, for instance, it's the heat.
Right.
You light
Right
it
on.
up. It's the heat that is essentially like a little
Right.
quick.
Right. That's
Yeah,
why you
yeah.
burn it. And
Activating.
can you do this with? Do you recommend dry herbs? Can you do this with fresh herbs as well, or you just recommend dry herbs? What do you recommend?
Okay, so it would be with dry herbs is what I
Okay.
would recommend you do the decarb process. With fresh herbs, like I haven't actually worked with actual like fresh herbs, but I have worked with the leaves. And
Right
so
on.
what I
Okay.
find is like with leaves, you can still add it to a smoothie because that's what I'll be doing today. I've done it before a few times. Like I've grown before and just froze the fan leaves and used it at a later date. And with the leaves, like you're not going to get high off of it or anything like that, but the leaves itself has vitamins, minerals. Like
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So
I mean,
it's still all beneficial.
ganja tea, we don't really use the leaves. It's not necessary. It's not the buds. No, those are going to market. Those are going to market. The rest of the stuff, you can take that. That's fine. Right now, well, let's see. So what do you have for us today? What do you?
So what I'm going to do today is something really quick and easy. I like to start my day with a smoothie, and you know, the way that I work with recipes and all of those things, and I think it's because I come from, you know, a Caribbean home, is like I don't really stick too tough with the recipe per se. I call it as it's a guideline. It's, you know, a lot of people need structure in their life. I get it. You know what I mean? But for me, you know, it's more like go with what you like. So today I'm going to do a fruit smoothie, but I'm going to use a lot of the fruits that I love. So I'm using mango, and I'm using strawberries. I'm using some frozen peaches as well. And then I'm adding some juices to it. So I'm adding like pineapple juice, and then I'm also adding coconut water to it as well.
Right. Okay.
Right. Nice. And so that's going to be kind of like the base of it. Oh, and I'm adding bananas too today. I was going to add pineapple, but the pineapple that I got wasn't ripe enough. So that's why I'm adding the juice.
All right. I get, okay. Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's just your base. So like it's a smoothie like you would anything. But when it comes to the infusion process, I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to have some options. So first I'm going to just build my
your base
kind of thing.
Build out your base.
And like I said, it's whatever you like, because like I mean, there's a lot of people who are allergic to certain things that are in a recipe that you would never know about. People are allergic to strawberries, etc. Right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I'm always about like it's usually a guide. For me, I like to use frozen fruit as well sometimes.
I was going to ask about that. Yeah. Why is that?
It's like then you don't have to add ice. It's like you have a really cold beverage. Yeah.
Okay.
And then on top of that too, it's you always have access to the fruit that you want if you use frozen kind of thing, right? Because for us out here in Canada, like, yeah, we get mangoes, but I mean, I'm not really buying mangoes in December out here.
I was going to ask, where do you get the mangoes from? I'm now even looking at that banana. I'm like, we don't even have bananas like that in Jamaica. What is up with that?
Yeah, so these are the North American ones, the ones that you eat, like, you know what I mean? The sweet banana, I guess.
Modified, buffed up with, I don't know, all kinds of this, and that, and the other. I got you. Right on.
That's what happens, unfortunately. And in terms of mangoes,
very pretty.
True.
Yeah, and the mangoes. Where the mangoes come from?
A lot of times they come from Mexico.
Okay, right. That makes sense.
Where I am, but if I was like in Toronto, they get a lot from the Caribbean.
Really? Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Toronto is very, very different, and I think one of the reasons is, well, number one, the population in the Toronto area is so huge, so the connection to Jamaica is much stronger.
Right.
But I think also in proximity, like you're even in the same time zone, right? Because like it's Eastern, I think Standard Time is what.
We don't change. You guys change. We don't change.
So we change. Okay.
We're our time, and you guys hover around us. But yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah,
but I do know that when I used to live in Toronto, like a flight to Jamaica is way cheaper than it is from where I live now because I'm on the West Coast.
Right. Okay.
Right? And so I think that
you have to make a connecting flight and then fly down type of thing. Is right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I got you. So that connection, even the level of the connectivity to the Caribbean, the people themselves are like, well, like I got my business, I got my farm, and you know. Yeah. I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right. I got you.
For sure.
Yeah, that's a big bloody banana. That's all I'm saying. Right, cool. I was like, is that a plantain? It's like you got to cook plantain. No, anyways, all right.
Oh, and I get plantain here too. I get plantain. Yeah. The only thing that I find in the west coast of the country is I've been having trouble finding Scotch bonnet peppers out here. Okay. So in Toronto, you can get it no problem. Even in Alberta, which is still west, but it's just not as west as I am. because I used to have a business called Wings and Tings back in the day, and I used to
Nice.
do
Okay.
Jamaican jerk chicken wings and
Right
rice
on.
and
Okay.
peas
I
and
think I
salad.
might have heard of it. Actually, I think I've heard of it. Okay. Right on.
That was me. That
All
used to
right.
be
Nice. Nice.
me.
Ooh, yeah. I'm pretty
Yes.
sure I have. That's
Yes, that
awesome.
was
That's
me.
awesome.
So, but I will find that Vancouver, it's harder to get the Scotch bonnet. So I'm going to try to get some seeds and see if I can grow myself.
Okay.
That's
Interesting.
what I'm trying to do. But if I was in Toronto, no problem.
They
So
do grow
basically,
pretty well, actually. They're pretty easy pepper to grow, actually. I've seen.
yeah, that's what people said. That's what people said, that
Yeah.
it's quite easy. So I'm ready for it. I'm like, you know
I've
what I
never tried,
mean?
but my neighbor threw a couple in seeds and I did the sprout. I'm like, okay, yeah, all right. I guess it's
Yeah.
easy. You know, he doesn't seem to do much to it. You know, like, all right, cool.
I love it. So the only thing I added so far was I added a little bit of allspice just for
Okay.
some flavor. That's
Okay. All
all.
right.
Okay. So, like I said, I only had strawberries, bananas, mango. I had some frozen peach, frozen strawberries in there as well. And now it comes to like, what am I going to do for the infusion? There's so many different things that you can add for infusion. I have infused honey that I've
Nice,
done
nice.
before,
Okay.
which is really, really nice to add to it because
How
it.
how do you infuse the honey? How
Okay, so we'll talk to you about this. So when it comes to infusing the honey, it's a little bit of a different process than when you're infusing oil. So I'll talk about all of them because sometimes I put coconut um, oil in my
oh, right.
smoothies,
Okay.
right?
Right.
So
Okay.
when you're infusing, I use the old school method as well. I do have oil infusion machines. I have like the
Right.
Levo oil
Right. Right.
machine,
Right.
1 and 2 and stuff like that. The Ardent is out there as well that
It's
does
out there.
that too.
We're gonna bring that in very shortly. I would
Yeah,
love to you to work with us and we can do something
I
with it.
would love that. I would absolutely love that. So, but I still do the old school method because I think, because I'm trying to normalize adult cannabis use, I want to just
Of
teach
course.
people
Right.
how to use it.
What
And
you
a
can
lot
do
of
at home
times,
and not it doesn't
exactly,
get too elaborate and you know to be a big
ex-
professional and be like okay I'm under the sink cooking something you know you gotta,
exactly.
right yeah
So I basically
I get
use
a blow
a
up.
slow cooker, rice cooker, anything
Okay
that has a low, it has to have a low setting on it.
right
That's the
okay
major thing. So
right
whatever
right
you have, crock pot, any of those things will work, but it just needs to have a low setting.
very low
And
setting
then basically, when you're doing the oil, all you're doing is you're putting your decarb flour into your slow cooker, and then you're adding your oil. You basically set the temperature to the lowest temperature. Sometimes the temperature's warm. That's what you're going to set it to. And then
okay
you leave it for 3 hours, stirring occasionally. And
just
then when
kind of
you're
let it absorb
done,
into it right
let it absorb.
right
And then when you're done, you basically just strain out your oil into another container.
and why would you keep it low? 'Cause if you went too high, would you over burn the cannabis? I mean, over the THC? Why would you keep it at that?
Yeah, so it's like you're burning off the THC. You're not. In order to get the best effects of your cannabis, you're actually not supposed to cook it at the high
Okay,
cooking point. So a lot of the recipes that I come up with and a lot of the dishes that I do, I actually do the infusion part on things that are not the high heat part of the menu, right? So things like that are like chutneys and sauces and dressings
okay.
and juices and beverages and things like that, because that's when you're going to maximize the effect. Um,
I mean, because I mean, everyone. Well, it's well known that cannabis infuses very well with oils and so on. If I'm thinking a saute, sauteing chicken or whatever, that would not be very effective then because that would be too
No,
much.
it wouldn't. It wouldn't.
Wow.
So what I
Okay.
recommend people do is like either if you're going to saute, you can saute for the most part with regular oil, and then you can finish with an
Okay,
infused
like
oil.
towards
So
the
that
end type of thing. Okay.
yeah, so that you're
Interesting.
not burning off. Now, some people don't have a problem with doing that because they have an abundance of access to ganja, right? But like
Right.
most people don't have an abundance of access to ganja, and it's also expensive
Right.
depending on where you live, right? So that's
Absolutely.
why you want to maximize the
Right. The
benefit and get
effects
all the
for
benefits
as
of it.
little as
Yeah,
possible. Right.
yeah. So it's
Okay.
not like you can't do it. It's just
Right.
if you're limited on your cannabis, then you should probably do things at a low heat so you can make
Right.
sure you get all the benefits
All
of the
right. Right.
cannabis, right? So that is the level for the slow cooker. There are so many other ways that you can infuse though. I just like to teach this way as the first entry way in because I find it's the easiest way. And the reason why it's easy is because you can walk away from your slow cooker and
Right.
come back to it and walk away and come back to it. Whereas some of the other processes, you have to stand by the stove
Right.
and you've
Right.
got to,
Okay. And
yeah,
watch it and be on top of it. Right. I got you. Okay.
make sure that the temperature doesn't go too high, etc.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right.
So that's basically like the process that you would use if you're using coconut oil, olive oil, canola oil, you know what I mean, avocado oil, all those oils type of thing,
Right.
right?
Okay. All right. Cool.
When it comes to honey, though,
Right.
the,
That's a
the
little bit more complicated.
only not that complicated. The only difference is instead of putting your cannabis directly in here, I would fill this with water and I would get a jar and I would put the honey in your jar
Right.
and then you get some oh, what is that? You're going to get what is it? I just smoked a joint. That's why I'm trying to
Okay.
it is it's like you're gonna make a little satchel of
With like cheesecloth.
with a cheesecloth. That's the
Right.
one.
Right.
That's
Okay.
what I was looking for.
I was thinking about that before, so I'm gonna give you some time. Let's see. All
Yeah,
right.
no, you got it. Thank you so much. It's you make it because I said it's like clues, satchel.
Right.
You got it from me. Thank you. So you get some cheesecloth, put the decarbed cannabis in there,
Right.
tie it up, and then you drop that little satchel in the jar, and then you put
And that in the
entire
water.
thing. Yes.
Into the water. All right. So it's kind of,
Yes.
and then the same, I guess, the same 3 hours or the longer
Same
because of the
3
bottle.
hours.
All right.
Same
Okay.
sort of 3 hours for that. And again, that's just one method. There's other ways, but I just find I like to, keep it simple, at least to start in, you know what I mean, and get
Right,
yourself
yeah.
accustomed with it. So there's that. And then the third thing that I could also infuse this with is with sometimes I like to add some liquor to it. So
Okay.
I infused some rum.
Right on. Yes, please.
Okay. And so in order to infuse rum, what I did was this is some decarbed cannabis.
Right.
All you have to do is you pour your rum into your jar and you shake it.
Yeah.
And then you pop it in your cupboard and you leave it there and you use
Right.
it whenever you want to use it. It's that simple. It's nothing crazy.
And this is the decarbed weed as well. Because I know a lot of Jamaicans will put like a nice branch of bud in their rum and leave it there for a little while, and then every now and then they'll come and take a sip. But I've always thought, but the bud's not decarbed. So is it really effective? I don't know.
Yeah, it's even more effective if the bud is decarbed.
All right, but it is still effective though. It will still.
I would think it will still do something, you know what I mean, because of the alcohol, but I would say that it's just way more effective if you just add some heat. Yeah, if you decarb it kind of thing. But the process is so simple. Like it's not that difficult to do a tincture either. The only thing about like infusing your liquor and things like that is like I do recommend using alcohol that is like a high alcohol that has a high alcohol content. So for instance, like this rum I'm using was like 40% proof alcohol. If a lot of people would use things like Everclear to do things, but like Everclear, that alcohol doesn't taste good. Like it's not a tasty.
Right. Okay. I don't even know. Yeah, Everclear. I'm like, that sounds like a water to me, but anyway, sorry. Okay.
No, it does sound like a water. It's almost like really chemically tasting in my personal opinion. And then
I wouldn't even go close to that. So yeah.
No. And I was chatting with some other cannabis chefs and they were recommending using like cane sugar alcohol.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where it got me thinking, oh, well, if I can just get other alcohol that's high proof alcohol, I'm gonna be fine.
So not like wine or something. You wouldn't recommend it with the wine or something, right? Okay.
No, but I've heard people like let me rephrase that. I've heard of cannabis wine. I just have never done it. So I can't really speak to it. And I recommend it as well. I just haven't done the process, so I can't really say what the effects is on that. Yeah, but they're out there. They're definitely
I've
cannabis
heard
wine.
of it. You know, I've definitely
Yeah,
heard. I mean,
yeah,
there is a ganja wine that you find she's selling out here in Jamaica. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yes, I'm down for it. I mean, I do like my wine, so
All right, all right,
I'm
all right.
down for
I like my
trying it.
rum, so that's cool. That's I'm down. All right.
You know what? Let me tell you something. I like to add this really to my smoothie, and I call it a boozy smoothie. But like
Mhm.
that's what I like to. It's a great. It's almost like think of a daiquiri, so to speak,
Right on.
especially
Yeah, yeah, I
when
can see that. But
right,
like with
especially
like fruit, but
yeah,
it's kind of healthy as well. So right on.
right.
I'm with you.
You
I'm with
see what I'm saying?
you. I'm
So
with you.
I mean, it's hot today up in these Canadian streets. So I am actually going to do that. Now I eyeball because now friends, this is not for everybody to eyeball, but it's part of my culture.
it's, it's your granny's instinct.
It is. It is
Yeah.
part of the culture. So, and then that's pretty much it. And if I wanted to, I'd probably I may just add some of the honey
Honey, right, right,
as well. And then and that's it. That's simple. You've already added cannabis to your day
right,
in the
right.
quickest way, right? Like, I mean, that's kind of what I'm all about is like being able to show people that you can add cannabis easily,
Right.
quickly to your
To your
day.
routine and go by do it, and probably feel a little bit less stressed, throughout the day.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So look, I'm just drizzling a little bit
Right,
and that's it.
right on. Looks
And
pretty
that's
good.
it. And the reason why for me, the reason why like I feel confident that I can layer these two different types of infusions is because, like I'd mentioned earlier, I'm in Canada, so our THC limit for edible is very low.
Right. Yeah.
So these um like my infused liquor, like yeah, it's more like the liquor has more.
Right.
You
Well,
know what I
look, I mean,
mean?
it's in no, this is I want people to see this kind of stuff,
Yeah,
and I don't mind
yeah,
even talking about these machines because
yeah.
edibles are illegal in Jamaica. Yeah,
Okay.
they are illegal in Jamaica. There was an incident, I won't get into it, but yeah, they are
Yeah,
illegal. So
yeah,
people have to do it themselves, So I
yeah.
would like to show people how to do it, basically. Yeah.
Okay, so then that's good to so that helps me to like segue a little bit as to why I teach using just an eighth, 3.5 grams, because
Right.
it's a great way to just learn how to introduce edibles into your body kind of
Right.
thing.
Right.
Because even if you've been smoking from time, because when you eat it, it
It's
gets
a different
processed
effect.
in the
Yeah.
body
Yeah.
differently, right? Like
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like somebody who's been like smoking ganja for like decades could literally be like,
Yeah,
high
to
for
feel almost like,
days.
feel
You know what
very
I mean?
bizarre. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
definitely, definitely. I mean, I've had friends
Exactly.
who are like, the 10, 12 hours later, like, oh my goodness, what is going on? I'm like, well, yeah, it's
Yes.
different. Just, it'll pass. Don't worry. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I just kind of am like, okay, well, let me teach people number one how to use
And do it.
little
Yeah, yeah,
little
exactly. Right
cannabis.
on. Yeah,
It's cheaper first, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Get
Right,
people
for
to
sure.
whatever. And then because it's legal because cannabis is legal in Canada, we can also go out and buy high CBD cultivars. We can
Right,
buy
right, right.
low THC cultivars, right? So I recommend
Right on.
different
Sampling and so on and so forth.
yeah, like your canatonic and your, you know what I mean? Like there are your mango haze in many cases, like depending on who's growing it, mango haze sometimes will have low THC in it. So I
Right.
recommend using like some of those
To
cultivars to
start with,
start
right? To
with.
start with. Right on, right
Yeah.
on. For
And
sure.
then over time, as you understand how it works with
It
you.
affects you, but right. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Exactly.
Tell me, well, different strains will affect different people differently when you smoke. What about when you ingest it? Do different strains affect you differently, or is it kind of just the same cannabis effect? Just
So
depending on
so I'm still working on figuring out if there's a difference, right? What for me right now, I've been really focused on um, working with the terpenes that's in a strain
Right. Okay.
and
Right. Right.
creating a recipe around it, right? So
Mhm.
that I get to kind of taste that
Right. Right.
strain a little
Strain
bit better.
in the right. Right on. Okay.
Exactly. Exactly. So for instance, like I'd mentioned earlier, like if I'm doing a mango chutney, then I'll go out and try to get a mango haze strain. to
Okay,
work
right.
with that strain. Like that's where my focus has been as of lately, rather than because it's hard for me to say to give that answer when we all have our own endocannabinoid system,
Right.
which means that everything just affects everybody so differently. So I'm just trying to get the flavor palette
Right. Well,
going.
and people are now starting. The research is showing that the terpenes actually may have more effect on people than the actual THC and CBD.
Exactly, because the
Yeah, this is
terpenes have their own effects,
right.
right?
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
terpenes do their, like even when people are feeling uncomfortable, let's say, because they've eaten cannabis and they're starting to feel too high or whatever the case may
Right,
be,
yeah.
like there are like things like black pepper,
Yes, I've heard. Yeah.
which that can, if you chew on a black peppercorn or you sniff it, for a lot of people, it helps them to feel better. And
Really?
it's because caryophyllene is
Okay.
also,
Counters. Right. Okay. Okay.
and that terpene specifically also helps people to just relax. So it's like the caryophyllene also
Right.
has its own like effects,
Right.
right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of why it helps. So I'm more on like finding out about the terpenes, trying to create dishes where your cannabis is actually really complementing your dish, as
Right.
opposed to like, some people's
It's a part of
concept
your
of,
dish type of thing. You know.
yeah. And some people just want to like, I mean, because there's a difference between edibles and then there's a difference between infused cooking, right?
Right. Agreed. Agreed.
Right? Like infused cooking, at least my approach is more like I approach it as like a microdose kind of approach, right? Because I use really low dose oils, that type of thing, because I'm a smoker. I love to smoke a joint.
Right. Right. Right.
That's my favorite way to
To
consume, right?
consume.
So, and I still run a business. I still need to function. I still need to,
Absolutely.
you know what I
Absolutely. I
mean?
hear you. I
So,
hear you.
my eating is more done on a low dose level, and that way I'm allowed to eat throughout the day, right? I'm allowed to have a smoothie like this now. Like, later in the day, I can have like I can add it to like my ice cream. You know what I mean? I can just do
Right.
so many
Right.
different
And
things with
still
it
be fully functional
and
and
still be fully
yeah.
functional, right? Whereas I find with edibles, a lot of times the function is to get you to a level,
Right.
right?
This is true. This is very, very true. This is very, very
Right,
true. Right on.
right. When somebody gives you a square of a brownie, it a lot of times is high in THC and it's
Right.
meant
And it's
to
to give you that high
to
effect
get
and
you
it,
that high.
right,
Yeah,
exactly. Right,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And that's why
So
take if they tell you to take one, take one. Don't take two because then you're gonna be like because they told you to take one. You know, because they told you to take one. You know.
also too, because with eating, it takes a while to pass through your
That's
liver.
right. That's right. That's
Right.
right.
So it's not like you're smoking where you get to feel the effects right away.
Right.
Like for some people, it could take up to 2 hours, even
That's right.
sometimes
It depends on
longer.
what you ate before. It depends on what I'm
Yeah.
sure. You know, it's got to have a yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Your
It's in your body. Yeah.
metabolism, your
Exactly.
so many
Exactly.
different things, right?
Exactly. That's right.
So yeah, my approach has always been low dose because I think that, adding a little infused coconut oil to your tea in the morning is delightful. It's a great way to like start your day. It's not too
Yeah.
much. It's very, very little. It's really great adding it to
But it's
your
still there,
coffee.
right?
Yeah.
I'm a coffee drinker, so I'm thinking, yeah, that's my thing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, add it to your coffee. It's delicious. Like I love adding infused coconut oil to my coffee. Like
Yeah.
it is perfect, and you're still able to function. You're not
Right.
feeling like
Which
you
is
want
the
to
most important thing. That is the
Yeah,
most important thing. You know what I mean? This
absolutely.
the stoner kind of jury, whatever, kind of just bumming around. That's not really what
Yeah,
cannabis is really about. Quite frankly, it never really has been. I think that was just a cultural thing that people caught on to because it was fun, it was cool, and whatever. But it's not the mainstay, to be completely honest.
agreed.
So are you gonna make the smoothie or are
I'm
you
going
just
to
gonna show
make
us
this. So
how
I'm
to
going
make
to
it?
turn this. I'm going to turn this on.
All right.
Give me 1 second here. Okay, so that was that. Super, super easy and
That's
easy.
pretty quick.
That's what
That's
I'm
a nice
saying.
blender. That's a
Okay,
nice
so
blender.
this is a Vitamix.
Okay, right
They're
on.
great. They're great because they're fast, quick. It took
Wow, look at
like
that. Okay, excellent. Woo.
done.
Look at that consistency. Beautiful.
Look at this, and that's it.
Wow,
And like
that's a smoothie. You got your infused smoothie.
Mm. Oh, and it's so good. And
And
like I
how
mentioned,
much of the cannabis did you did? I mean, how much would you say would be in a cup? What kind of
I
dosage would
would
you use
say
there?
that in a cup, because I did it really low, probably about 5 milligrams in a
Okay.
cup kind of thing. But there is alcohol in it too.
Right.
So
Okay.
always
Okay.
be aware that if you're using an alcohol-based infusion, that's going to have a little bit
Effect.
of a different
Absolutely. Right.
effect
Absolutely.
to it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's simple. This is it. And then once you've had what you've wanted to have, you can just pop it in your fridge.
Right. Right. Right.
And then just, continue to enjoy as you wish. I do always recommend like for people to have like stickers or something like that. Like if you live
Right.
with
To
other people.
differentiate, yeah, for sure. Right.
Absolutely. Just
You
kind
see
of,
your
you're
friends
gonna
start to
use.
slow down in your room. It's like, why are you looking at this?
Yeah,
What's wrong?
yeah.
Oh my
It's
goodness, is that
important.
what you? I thought you said you were going to the gym, and now you're just like, I don't know. It's like, what? Yeah, okay. Wrong smoothie. I know what's up. Right, I
Right.
got you. Right.
And,
Okay.
and as I mentioned earlier, if you have fresh leaves,
Right.
you can add the leaves in, and it's really, I've done it. It's great. Like it's a very hearty
Right. Okay.
beverage kind of thing, and it's the leaves don't add to getting you high or anything because they're not psychoactive or anything, but you're going to get more vitamins and nutrients.
Right. Right. And all right. Well, let's. I have heard that a lot of people say that not to throw away your trim because that
Mm,
is good for edibles and so on and so forth. What's your take
yeah.
on that?
Yes, I totally agree with that. I think that you should use all of the plant
Oh, okay.
to your best desire type of thing. So I use everything. Like I even use I also have like a vaporizer, like one of those dry herb
Right on. Yeah.
vaporizers.
Yeah.
So
For
I
sure.
also collect what they call already vaped bud,
Right.
AVB.
Yeah. Yeah. Right on. Yeah. Yes. I've heard of this.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So you can use this for like if you're baking or something like that. I
And there will
recommend
still
it.
be some levels of THC in it or TBD or whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Like you can use everything. Like I don't get rid of anything. Another thing that I use, and I'm shocked that I don't have it right in front of me, but I use just give me 1 second because I have it here and
Take your
I'm going
time.
to make
That's
sure
cool.
that you guys see it.
That's fine.
Yeah, because this is also something that I use. So for people who um uh smoke concentrates. So I
Right.
have friends out here who make their own rosin.
Right
And
on.
to
Yeah. Yeah.
make your own rosin, you put your dried flower in a little bag like
Right.
this,
Press
about
it.
10 grams, and then you put it in a machine and it gets pressed and it gets flattened. So I have friends that give me this.
Oh, right. Because they've got the rosin. That's what they want. You like the
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
And then I take off the casing,
Right.
and then this is the dried flower, right? And so I still decarb this. So this is basically 10 grams of dried flour. And
Right.
I will decarb this even though it's been heated. And the only reason why I decarb it still is because even though it was heated, it's only heated for like about a few seconds. Like it's not
Right.
really
I've
heated
seen the
for a long
process. Right on.
time.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So I will do the same process, put it on parchment paper, put it in the oven at 220. But rather than do it for 40 minutes, I do it for 20. I just do it for
Just
half the
kind of break it,
time.
cut down the time. Okay.
Yeah. And
And it's
then
still once again, and it's still effective. It's
oh yeah, this is actually rosin
oh okay.
is what's in here. Yeah. So basically I make oils out of this as well. It is really, really effective. And then because it's 10 grams in this,
Right.
and in our country, 10 milligrams of THC is the max. I tend to only have to use like one of these to make a cup of oil,
A big right. Okay. Right on.
right? Or one of these to make a cup of honey or something like that. So it's really cost effective. It's very,
And
very
convenient.
effective.
And
Yeah,
convenient.
very
Right.
convenient.
Right. Right.
So if people have friends that press their own rosin, ask for the chips because you can actually use them to infuse.
Right. I will. Well, I was gonna say I'll pass on the message, but you've already given it, so thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah, no
Um,
worries.
all right. I think that's it. I know that you have to run to your exam, your culinary exam.
Yes, I do.
Take
I
things to the
do.
next level. To bring your work back to the public, effectively, which
Yes.
of
Yeah.
course we're hoping that you will be doing very very soon.
Yeah, and I'm
Necole,
hoping to
thank
travel too. That is really the kicker. I'm hoping to
I
travel
think
with it.
I think everybody's itching to travel. I think yeah, myself included. I assure you. I assure you. People want to come to Jamaica. I'm like, no, I want to go. I want to go somewhere
Yeah,
else.
I can
That's,
imagine. I can imagine.
that's
You're like ready to bounce. I'm like, I
oh, most definitely.
want to go.
Most definitely. Well, we'll coordinate appropriately. Not to worry.
Yes.
We will just definitely coordinate appropriately. But again, thank you very much, Necole, for your time.
No,
Once
thank
again,
you.
thank you for joining for the GanjaActors.com Cannabis Pharmacy Expo series.
Yeah.
We will speak with you again. We will
Yes.
be on to the Ganja Project series very, very soon. I would love to see you as a regular guest. We can come in and do some jerk sauce.
Yes, I would love to do jerk chicken. I make my own jerk sauce. So like, and I infuse that too a lot of the time. So
So how would that work? Because I mean, would you put I guess you'd put that would be like the last layer of sauce that you would put
that would
onto
be
it.
the last layer. I
Right.
find that with the jerk sauce, like it's the other things that I make with it as well that really give you the
Okay.
effects. I
All right.
still add it to it because it adds to the flavor, but because of the way I'm cooking the jerk, I'm really kind of burning a lot of the stuff off. But it's because I
Right,
have
that's what
access to the product, so it's more like I'm using it as a herb per
Okay.
se, like rather than your effect when it comes to the jerk chicken. But
Jerk chicken. Again, because
that's it.
you got the whole terpene thing going on, so you like the flavor.
I'm trying to do it, you know.
I got it. That's very, very cool. Well, I wish you all the best. I wish you good luck this afternoon. And
Thank you.
and thank you ever so much for joining us. And we will speak again.
Oh, thank you for having me, and I would love to come back again.
All right, thank you. Sounds great.
All right.
Make sure it happens. All right. One love. Thank